Hello, everyone. Welcome back to day 25 of Reinventing Your Career. It's great to be back on a Monday morning. It's not morning, it's afternoon. Why am I saying morning? It's afternoon. It feels like it's the morning for some reason. I have an amazing guest with me here today. Keisha, do you want to introduce yourself before we get into the conversation?
Listen, good morning, y'all. I'm gonna say good morning too, right? Good morning. I'm gonna say good morning. So, good morning, everybody. I am Nakisha Hicks, and I'm the founder of the Elevate Her. And listen, I'm excited to be here. I'm a fellow introvert, so this is gonna be a very interesting conversation. I'm waiting on this conversation. I've been waiting all week for this conversation, right? But I'm happy to be here and to lend my HR expertise, being that I've been around for a little bit.
I love that. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We've been like following each other online for so long, and it's great to finally like get to know you, collaborate on something. So I feel really fortunate to have you here today for this conversation to share your knowledge and your expertise. For those who haven't met me, I'm Lisa Appia. I'm a certified career strategist, executive coach. And for the last 24 days, I've been going live every single day with this series called Reinventing Your Career. I was just telling Keisha when I do things, for some reason, I always go very extreme. So I didn't want to go live for a very long time. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go live and I'll do it for 30 days. So this is what brings us here. I know that there was a lot of interest. There was a conversation I had with Kareem Rogers maybe 2 weeks ago, and the conversation about HR came up. And then when some of the questions were being asked, I was like, okay, let me reach out to Keisha and see if she would be willing to have a conversation. So this is how this came about. So thank you for agreeing to that. Do you want to talk about a bit of your background for those who haven't met you yet?
Yeah, so my background is one of those that was like non-traditional in all sorts of ways. I was raised in a non-traditional background in that I wasn't necessarily raised by my parents. I was a non-traditional student, and that it took me forever to get an undergraduate degree, but that's okay because I got it. And then I went back to school real quick and got a master's. But my career in HR was somewhat non-traditional in that I didn't grow up and think, oh, I want to be in HR. Like, who did that? I actually started my HR career in the mid 90s.
Okay.
Right. So when it wasn't even HR, it was personnel for anybody that remembers those days.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so I was able to kind of, I guess, go up the ranks, whatever that means, because there are many positions that I've never held. And so one thing I'm always big about is telling folks that this career ladder doesn't really exist in HR. It doesn't. And so I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later on in the conversation. But yeah, so I matriculated all the way up into senior leadership, exec leadership. And in 2021, I left in-house HR altogether to work full time on the business. And the business is all things coaching, leadership development, and then HR consulting. I just can't get away from HR, even if I wanted to.
Amazing. I'm just looking at you now and I'm amazed because I'm like, when they say black don't crack, like
Hey,
in the 90s.
listen, that's because I drink my water and mind my business. But
I
listen,
love that.
listen,
That's
drink your
amazing.
water, mind your business. That's all you got to do.
That is it. That alone is the lesson for today's conversation.
Like, we could just say that in the end. Drink your water, mind your business.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's get into the conversation, and feel free for those who are joining live or watching the replay. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll try to respond to as many as possible. And yeah, let's get into it. So, there are professionals who are considering to make a career change into HR. What would you say are some of the skills or experiences that they should highlight or they should focus on to make the transition smoother?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me say it this way, the biggest mistake that people often make when you're thinking about transitioning into HR is thinking that they don't have relevant skills, which is, I guarantee you, completely false, right? Because a lot of times people think HR is about policy and those very specific things that we do, which it is. But it's also about two very important things that you don't have to be in HR to know about, and that's people and influence, right? So let me give you an example. One of my clients came from a project management background, which is amazing, right? And she thought that none of her skills counted. But when we reframed it, her ability to lead like cross-functional teams, her ability to manage conflict and to drive results through people, suddenly like those things made her a top candidate for HR roles, right? So if you're really thinking about pivoting, look from look through a different lens, if you will, at your experience, right? Have you coached other people? Have you managed change? Have you led a team? That's all HR work, right? Frame it in terms of outcomes. Like, I improved retention, but this is how I did it. I reduced conflict. This is how I did it. I led through transition. This is how I did it, right? Those are all transferable skills that win in the end.
Definitely, yeah. The emphasis on transferable skills. And, throughout the series, we've been also talking about being able to use the language of the industry that you're looking to get into. And that's what you're basically saying. Like, you already have the experience, you have the skills. It's just a matter of being able to communicate them so the new industry can align and understand what you're bringing to the table. So I love that. How about in terms of people's mindset? I know you gave the example of your client that you were working with. Are there certain things that you see in how people approach a career change when they're coming from a different background, trying to get into HR? I know for me, a lot of times what I see with professionals looking to make a change is that they have this mindset, oh, I have to start over. Is that something that you're seeing as well? Is there other mindsets shifts that are necessary that you've seen?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I think starting over is very much a relevant question, right? Because I've had people that have been in manager levels and they're like, man, I'm gonna have to start all over as an HR coordinator. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, who does that? I'm like, no. So I think first of all, you're not starting over, right? I think that's the first mindset shift, is to really get that in your mind. I'm not starting over, but what I'm doing is actually repositioning myself. And I think, think about it as like where you came from, your past career is like your foundation. And I think that's important because, like, even when I left corporate America to run my business, I had to remind myself that all them years of HR leadership didn't just disappear, right? Like, they didn't just go away. They just became the credibility that helps me stand on what I do today, right? And I think another shift is moving from a doer, because a lot of people are doers, to moving to more that advisory role. I'm an advisor, right? Because here's what I would tell you, in my perspective, and this is the book of Keisha. I don't know for everybody, but this is for me. HR is most effective when you see yourself not as the fixer, right, of things, but as the voice that actually helps organizations make people decisions better. And I think if you can do that, then that's going to help you. And then finally, I think is, oftentimes we always talk about everything is black and white, black and white. But my thing is embrace the gray, play in the gray. That's what I tell people, right? HR, because the thing is, HR is not always black and white because we deal with people, right? It's learning to hold space for tension, hold space for navigating different dynamics and still show up even keel and steady and all the things. So that's what I think.
I love that. Yeah, just being able to embrace that messy middle sometimes, right? Because we
Absolutely.
often want things to be perfect, for things to be clear, but you sometimes just have to enjoy that messy middle. There's quite a bit of people who are online who are joining us. I'm seeing a number of people on LinkedIn. I'm seeing some on YouTube. So go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know that you're here, that you're following. If you have a question, let us know. Whether you're watching the replay or you're watching live, it would be nice to hear from some of you and also know where you're joining from. Because I say good morning. It's morning somewhere in the world, probably at this time, right? So let us know. You never know. There are people who are joining from all over the world. So drop a comment. Let us know where you're joining from. So you've shared lots of gems already. I saw lots of thumbs up when you were saying repositioning. And that's clearly something that caught people's attention because that's really what it is, right? You yesterday I was telling people that you're not starting over, you're starting ahead. And when you can make that shift in your way of thinking, that already lets you know that you're bringing value to the table. There is something that you have to offer. You're not starting from scratch. So I love everything that you said. Let's take a bit of a shift in the conversation here. So you've been in HR for many years. That's what you were doing professionally, and then now you do it as your business, and you help people to be able to grow in their careers, to transform workplace culture. And something that I like about what you emphasize is about making change from the inside out. And you talked about HR professionals who want to be the fixers in their organization because they see things that are not right. They have people coming to them that may be making complaints about things, and they want to be that go-to fixer in the company. But how can they step into those leadership roles with more confidence without avoiding being that kind of go-to person that's fixing everything while still being effective?
Yeah. So I think we always have to come back to a term that I have had to work tirelessly to myself to overcome, and that's overfunctioning, right? So many of us overfunction, and for a lot of different reasons. That's a whole nother episode. So if you ever want to have me back on another video, we'll talk about overfunctioning. But I will say this: I coach a lot of people, primarily women of color, right, in HR. And what I will tell you, the story is primarily the same. Okay. And that story is that they become their organization's 911. Right. And the problem is when you're always the fixer, you end up being exhausted. Right. And eventually you become invisible. Because who checks on the fixer? They only notice it when you're not there. Okay. So confidence comes from clarity. And so what you carry, what's you have to really be thinking about what are you carrying? Right, and what's not yours to carry. And I think that that's where, when we come out of this fixer mode, that's one thing that we have to think about, is I have to be really clear about those things. Right. So one practical thing that I share with my clients, and I'm here to share it with your audience, is instead of saying things like, I'll handle it, I'll take care of it, start your sentence with this one little phrase: here's what I recommend. Right? Just say,
I
here's what,
like that.
right? Or
Yeah.
have you considered? Right? Just start there. And that'll take the bite off of it for you, right? Because some of us are natural fixers. We want to jump right in. But before you do, pause and say, here's what I recommend. Have you considered? Right? Let's walk through it together. Right? And that shifts you immediately out of that fixer to a coach, to a teammate, right? From problem solver to, guess what? Now you leading the change, leading the result that you want to see. And then I would tell you also, like, if you want to kind of come out of that and stop being the fixer, get some support, right? Because you are never meant to do everything by yourself. So don't try to, right? Every high functioning leader that I've ever worked with always needed a sparring partner. You need it. I mean, we have them as here we said as business, we got them.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
not only just our coaches, but our peers, like, that are doing the same things that we're doing. Get a sparring partner, because that's where you can really kind of lay it all out and say, listen, help me to think through this. What am I missing? What are my blind spots? So yeah, I think that's what I would give. That's what I would say.
Amazing. Yeah, we were just having a conversation about the fact that we both have coaches. We're coaches who believe in coaching. And so we have coaches ourselves. And that support does make the world of a difference. We have Tiffany joining from El Paso, Texas. Thanks for being here. Le Bohang, I hope I'm saying your name properly, all the way from South Africa. Thank you for joining the conversation. And if you have any questions, go ahead, drop them in the chat. I'll be monitoring. I know that in the past I haven't been, but now I have it open. I am checking the chat today. So I am checking the chat, and we will respond to as many questions as we can. So now I know we're talking about career transitions, but there are a lot of people that I saw who signed up for this conversation today to watch the live that we're doing, who are already HR professionals. I was seeing a lot of those titles. So for those who are HR professionals who want to grow in their careers without necessarily leaving their current roles, right? Maybe they're in that position where you were saying that people become that fixer, so they're taking on too much, it's a lot of pressure, but they don't necessarily want to go elsewhere, they want to stay in their current role. What are some practical ways that they can actually invest in themselves to be able to maybe get out of this kind of identity that they've created for themselves in HR?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question because I get so many people that are like, I'm just gonna leave HR altogether. I'm like, no, don't go, don't go. It gets lonely over here if you leave us. But what I would say, first of all, is growth doesn't always mean leaving, right? Sometimes it just means that you have to show up differently where you are. And sometimes you just have to really be cognizant of how you're showing up, right? And so I think that's the one thing. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, she was like super exhausted, like for real. Like I'm thinking about leaving HR altogether. I don't want to do this anymore, this type of work anymore. And I heard her because I got it. Because here's the thing, true story. When I left the business, when I left to do the business full time, I was like, I don't want to do HR anymore. I was like, I don't want to do it. I've done it all these years. I'm tired. Like I'm tired of people.
Yeah.
I'll just go coach. I don't want to do anything HR related. And I kind of stayed away from it until probably about 2.5 years ago. And then I was like, okay, I started doing more HR consulting type work. But I get it because it's hard work, right? It's exhausting work, and things like COVID and all the different things, like it put miles on a lot of us, right? And all the layoffs that we see, that's hard. And so, and then depending on the culture of your environment in which you're in, it's hard. And so I like whoever's here that's listening to this, understand, I get it. It's hard, right? But like my client, one thing that we worked on was her presence, right? How she framed her ideas in the terms, again, of business language. We always talk about, from an HR standpoint, frame your stuff in terms of business language because nobody speaks HR but us, right? But everybody, the universal language is money. The universal language is time.
Everyone understands that, yes.
Everybody understands money and time.
For sure.
Right? If they don't understand HR, everybody understands those things. So that's what you need to you have to start speaking in terms of the business language. And so that's how we helped her to kind of own her voice in meetings. And when she did that, within months, what happened is she started getting invited on the panels, getting invited into the meetings, right? Getting invited, tapped for those more high visibility projects because it was like, oh, she gets it, right? And so that's one thing I would say. Another way, practical way, is again, and start investing in taking on things like cross-functional initiatives, right? Stop just playing in HR. Go HR adjacent, right? But whatever you do, make it make sense. Don't just do something to be doing it, right? So like if you take on a project or an initiative that helps you to get in front of senior leadership, great. That's great for you, right? And really practice reframing like those HR wins again in terms of business, in terms of the business. How is the business winning from this? And get in those rooms where other HR leaders are already stretching themselves. Because there's something about that. Because then when you get in those rooms, they will stretch you too, right? And last thing I will say, and I can't harp on this enough, is invest in coaching or community. Because HR is there's a lot of roles, but not a lot of roles, especially once you start climbing up the ladder and you get into mid to senior level HR roles, which I see a lot of people from that lane. It's like it can get lonely, very isolating. And in a lot of organizations, there are people that are HR parties of one. They don't have anybody on teams.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so easy to want to tap out, but get a coach, get community, because that's where you can grow even more. I'm pro, like, do whatever you need to do from a learning and development standpoint. If you feel like you need to get a certification, that's your business, right? But I will tell you, the people that invest in themselves, they end up positioning themselves better. That's what I would say. Like, invest in yourself in that way, but don't quit. Stay with it.
I love what you're saying because, we've been talking about reinventing your career from the perspective of mostly going elsewhere. But I love what you're saying that you can reinvent your career even where you are, right? Just by working on yourself, investing in yourself, developing your skills. And it does make a difference because a lot of times what can happen is that if you don't address those things there about you not speaking up or you not being involved, you're just going to take those same things somewhere else, right? So work on yourself, improve yourself, and then you'll get the best outcome wherever you are ultimately.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. So I have a question for you. I know when we were chatting before we turned the live on, you were telling me you're an introvert.
Yes,
And I know
yes,
a lot of my followers are introverts because I talk about all things introvert all the time.
yes.
It hasn't really come up in the series just because we've been so focused on transferable skills and all the things and keywords and LinkedIn and all that. But how has being an introvert influenced your career? Has it influenced your career at all?
Yeah. So I think it is an important part of the conversation though, even if you're looking to move into a different career or to move around in HR, because I think about it like before I understood, first of all, I've been doing HR so long, I didn't even know, I think it was before I understood what introvert, extrovert, ambivert,
Yeah.
all the verts were, right? I didn't even know. I just knew that early in my career, I was like, I just want to be by myself.
Mm.
I don't want to talk to a whole bunch of people. Please don't put me on the spot in a meeting. Like, like I'm cool. I will sit at the lunch table by myself. Leave me alone. Right. I can produce a whole lot, but I also learned that part of it was I could sit in meetings and I could soak up all the information in the room because I didn't say nothing.
Mm.
Right.
Yes,
Like that's the best thing about us. I think we are some of the best listeners in the world.
that's true. That's
Right. We
definitely
are
true.
observers. We will
Yeah.
observe stuff all day long. And then we could spit it back out. But it's like that I didn't want to spit nothing back out.
Yes.
Right. And so what happened was when I did think about, oh, I want to go higher in my career, what I realized was that my work was great, right? But my work didn't speak for itself. I had to speak for my work. And so being an introvert kind of silenced me in some ways. Right. And I think then to like you going extreme and doing all these videos, I was like, oh, that means I gotta talk on this. I gotta go here. I gotta do this. And I was just like, I'm exhausted. I can't do that because people are wearing me out. Right. But what I had to do is I had to find a balance. And I had to say, okay, what does visibility mean to me? Right. And what is my definition of success when it comes to visibility for this particular move in my career? Like what would make me have a presence? What is my voice? Does my voice really matter here? And am I just talking to be talking? Because I don't want to do that either. But what do I have to add value in? And how can I say it? And my best friend says with word economy, how can I say it in the least amount of words, but I'm in and out, right? But but it was those things. And so I think had I not harnessed it when I did in my career, I don't know that I would have gotten as far as I've gotten. I'm not saying that as an introvert you can't grow in your career, but sometimes I run into people who say, I don't want to lead people, but I want to grow in my career, but
Mhm. Yes.
and I'm
Mm.
like, well, how you gonna grow? Like there's only so many individual contributor roles.
Exactly.
And so some of this is going to require you to lead people, be in front of people. But I always say, there's a certain level of comfort that you can create for yourself when it comes to that. But I think sometimes that's when you just have to do the things that you think are the impossible, right? And but again, that helps when you get a coach, right? Like you are who are fellow introverts. So a lot, like to your point, like a lot of my coaching clients, most of them are introverts.
Oh, interesting. It makes sense though. It makes sense.
I'm attracted to them and they're attracted to
Exactly.
me. Yeah. And so it's crazy. But I mean, I think if you don't harness it, it can be detrimental in some
Yeah,
ways. Just like if you're
definitely.
an extrovert and you all over the place, like sit down.
Exactly. Exactly. Manage your energy. That's really what it's all about, right? No,
Yeah.
that's really well said. Lots of amazing gems that you've dropped in this conversation. It's been great. We have Tanya joining us from Little Rock that's saying hello. Hey, Tanya, thank you for joining the conversation. So, any final words? Where can people find you? I'm not seeing any questions for now, but I know people will watch the replay and there may be some questions that will come up on the replay. But where can people find you?
Well, of course, if you are catching us on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. Please find me on LinkedIn. I pretty much post Monday through Friday, so you'll find definitely some content there. Occasionally, I'll go live. I ain't doing this 30-day deal, right? And I hope don't nobody ask me to do 30 days because I'm not doing it. Like I might do once a week, maybe now. But
Once a week is amazing, though.
once a week is good. Like if I'm gonna get it in, but if not, catch the content over there on LinkedIn for sure, and on wonderful platforms like this one. I appreciate this. I really, really appreciate you allowing my voice here.
It's been great having you. Thank you for bringing your energy. Thank you for sharing all the knowledge. We have Omar that's saying thank you for the conversation. And Omar is currently looking to transition into HR. So very thankful for everything that you shared. So I appreciate you, Omar, and I'm sure all the other people online appreciate you as well. So yeah, on that note, everyone, I'm back tomorrow. We continue reinventing your career, day 26. And yeah, we will continue. I'm talking about transitioning from entrepreneurship to employee. So that will be a conversation that will be an interesting one. It's interesting, Keisha, I don't know if you're seeing this in your coaching practice, but people transitioning from entrepreneurship going back to corporate, you're seeing that as well?
Yeah, because this life is not easy.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm seeing it quite a bit and getting a lot of questions on that. So I'm like, okay, I'll touch on that topic. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you once again. Yeah, it was great chatting. Thank you. And have a wonderful evening, afternoon, everyone. We'll talk soon. Bye.